Hi guys, Mindstone here, and today I'll be talking a bit about the Sharman cards and the Warrior cards and the Warlock cards for TLOE, as I'm calling it, the League of Auras. First card up is Everything is Awesome. I think this card, well, you're gonna have a lot of Murlocs. You're probably gonna get it out for, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 mana, which is like it's plus 2 to every minion. So I'm gonna put that for every minion you hit is like 1.5 mana worth, and you're probably gonna hit 3 or 4 minions with this card when you play it. And if you happen to hit 4 minions, you probably win the game. Like so, this is like Bloodlust for Murloc decks. So instead of I guess Bloodlust is good in Murloc decks, Shaman Murloc, and this is what makes Shaman Murloc a thing, in my opinion. Because like Spirit Finch, Build Ogre, or whatever it's called, the Shaman Murloc thing, not gonna make it. Neptulon might just make Shaman Murloc alright, but this card really makes Shaman Murloc a thing. And yeah, I think that giving shit like the Murlocs above is cool, I guess. But yeah, they're still vulnerable to board clears, but this might just really seal off a game. And this card does not cost 7. It doesn't. Well, it gives you minions plus 2/2. It is not going to cost 7 because you have Murlocs. You're going to have Murlocs. It's like at max, it's going to be at 5 mana. So, like, 7 mana, no, that's not true. This card does not cost 7 mana. You can, like, get it for free if you have 7 Murlocs. But that should not happen. Because if that happens, your opponent's probably dead anyway. So, yeah. I think this card is good though. I think you can definitely see it into, like, some Shaman Murloc. Don't know if that deck's gonna work overall. I have more faith in Paladin Murloc overall. But I definitely do think this might be really good. Next card up is Rumbling Elemental. This card is, well, the stats are below average for a 4-drop. You would expect a bit more. It's pretty vulnerable to certain things, like to Battle Shadow, Priest, and Shadow of Pain. But, well, you gotta get over that, I guess. Because, like, the effect is pretty cool, I guess. Because, like, 2 damage to random enemy, it seems pretty good. And when I'm thinking about Sharman, which this is played in, obviously, you have a lot of battle cries. Like, you have, like, aim elemental, 5 and whatever. You have, I don't know if it's a battle cry, the thing when you play it, the Fire God Destroyer. I think that's a battle cry as well. So you have some battle cries that are pretty good. I think the Mist Call's battle cry as well. So you have some cards that might just be good, and you could put a battle cry deck with this guy, and at least he really supports it. And I don't know, if you get this guy proc twice, he's definitely gonna be worth it. But the question is, will you? And I might say yes, you will, because he is pretty tough. So most matchups he'll be really good. And the meta right now looks very aggressive. So this card really, like, the stats do a really good job in killing small mobs. But also, if he like spits out random 2 damage charges, that really seems like a really good deaggro card. And like this card and a Defender of Argus, like, then we're just going crazy. Like, I'm just thinking either this card and Defender of Argus and a totem, or this card, another one of these cards, and a Sunfury Protector. And then stuff just goes crazy. Like, you just deaggroed crazily much. But obviously that's a turn 10 play, and you're probably not going to get to that point. But I think the card's going to be good, at least for as long as aggro persists to be really strong, because this card really deals well with that. Well, next card up is Tunnel Throg. This card's broken. It's just broken. So, like, now, this card, turn 1, turn 2 is Totem Golem, turn 3, another Totem Golem. You suddenly have a 3/3 one drop, which is pretty broken. And if you play this late, you can just like drop on turn 4. This one, Feral Spirit, it's a 3/3. You got a 3/3 for 1 mana. That's crazy. Like this one usually ends up being a 3/3 because you can't do crazy stuff like Elemental Destruction and get like 5 attack on it. That's not gonna happen because it kills it. So there, like you don't really get like all that crazy stuff, but it's a threat. That's the most important thing. You play something like this is a mana ramp for Shaman because yeah, well mana ramp triggers every spell. This card triggers off every overload, but it triggers multiple times, so it gets a lot of attack really quickly, which is something I like. So if you can protect this with crackles, with something, you might just see Tempo Shaman be a thing now. Like, because like mage use mana worms and spells that protect it, where Shaman might just use this card and then overload spells and overload minions for protecting this guy. So I could see this card being like the start of Tempo Shaman, but well, it's just a really solid card. Like 1/3 is super solid stats. So I think we might see a lot of this card. I think it's gonna be really defining for Shaman. And I think Overload Shaman might just be the strongest like form of Shaman now. We'll see. Next card up is Warlock. It is Curse of Rafam. This card just feels like, yeah, you're gonna get 2 face damage first off. That's like that's the first thing that happens. You do 2 mana, 2 face damage. That's cool. Like suddenly we just say this is aggressive. Like we're talking Warlock, it's aggressive. Alright. That's the first thing we established. If you're playing versus aggro, they probably do not have time to drop it if they're behind. Like if you take the board, play this, they cannot drop it because they will take too much damage from the board, and they will keep taking damage. But if they're ahead and you drop this, they're just gonna drop it and still be ahead. So this is really a thing that makes sure that if you are ahead, you will stay ahead. And I think that's kind of cool. What you might do also is you might know, like if you, an experienced Hearthstone player would be able to say, well, now's a key turn for the opponent in its deck. I will play this, and they will take damage twice, which is pretty cool. This card does suffer a lot from Tempo Mage though, actually severely much, because mana ramps trigger off the curse card. I'd say. Source Apprentice make a discount. Well, you just suffer a lot from it. I don't know how it interacts with spell damage. If it's your opponent's spell damage that it interacts with, that'd be kind of cool, I'd say. But I can't really say at this current stage. I think the card is probably going to see some play because it's 4 mana. Well, excuse me, 4 damage for 2 mana if you play correctly, maybe even more. And also because it might just help you seal off games. Because trading 2 mana for 2 mana when you're ahead is usually a good thing. It does give you bad card balance though, because you use a card your opponent does not. So I don't know. I don't think it's like an A+ card, but we're probably talking alright card here. And I can see it used. Next card up is Dark Peddler. This card seems pretty underwhelming, to me at least. This guy a 1-cost card. You usually don't want a 1-cost card in your hand on turn 3, I'd say. And like, what good 1-cost cards are there? Yeah, sure you can get Power and Mortal Coil, but that's pretty much what you want. You don't want it like Aging Squire, something. You don't want Angry Chicken out of this card. And obviously you have a choice. You don't just get a 1-cost card, which is crap, but you can choose slightly what you want, and that's a good thing. But anyway, I don't think it's good enough. Yeah. You might see in these really aggressive Sue decks where you're having this is a 2/2/2, which draws you a card, which is that's cool. That's all nice, but I don't think it's good enough for most Warlock decks. But in really aggressive Sue decks, you might see it. Yeah, but I'd say it's like it's an alright card or slightly below average. So yeah. Well, next card up is Reliquary Seeker, which, if I pronounce that right, that doesn't matter. It's a 1-drop. This card, it doesn't have any battle cry. It's never gonna happen. Like, if this happens, you already won the game with Warlock. So unless you do double implosion, obviously, or something like that. But still, this should never happen. And like, if you have 6 minions, you usually do not want to drop another one, in my opinion, because you already have lethal in a few turns. So unless you're trying to trade it away, which you probably wouldn't do if you just build up 6 minions. So this kind of just seemed like, if you're ahead, win by a bit more, or have another minion to get flame striked. Obviously, this one actually dodges flame strike because it's like 1 HP above that. But it's still, it just seems unrealistic. I don't think any deck likes swarming the board, unless we're talking like Murloc decks, which might just be a thing. But not Murloc, Warlock, that's not going to happen again. Like, just no, not anymore. Now Paladin Murloc and Sharman Murloc are the thing. Whatsoever. Yeah, this card might see play in aggressive suit decks, just like Dark Peddler. But again, I don't like this card. I think it's very underwhelming 1-drop if you don't get the battle cry. And versus versus other aggro decks, Warlocks usually don't outrush them in my experience. And I don't think you're gonna build up 6 other minions if you trade all the time. And you're not either if your opponent tries to trade all the time. So I would not play this card. I don't think it's gonna be good. Even though it's a cool concept. I think it was maybe like 4 other minions. We could have been like, then it'd be like an average card, but since it's not, I don't think it's good to see play. Now Warrior. First up is Cursed Blade. This weapon is probably now I don't have the entire expansion in my head, but I'd say this is probably the worst card. Yeah, sure, it is 6 damage for 1 mana. Insanely good. But you double the damage dealt to hero. That basically means your opponent does the same to you, just even more. Like, if they play Lebanon while this is on the board, you damn take 8 damage from that Lebanon. That's crazy shit, like, wow, we don't want that. You wouldn't ever play this, especially not if you're going second, because your opponent just dropped a 1-drop and they're just going crazy. This card just seems stupid, like doubling the damage you take. It's like taking your HP to half. It doesn't make sense. No, it just doesn't. There's no way you would ever play this card. Not when you have Fury War Axe, which is just like one of the best cards in the game. Especially because you want to play Fury War Axe on turn 2. Why would you then play a 2/3 weapon on turn 1? Like, you're gonna get 1 swing with it? Like, 2 damage on turn 1, and then replacing it? Is that worth it? No, it's not. So, do not do it. Easy. Very easy to understand, I'd say. At least this card is not going in my decks. Yeah, I think it's the most horrible card in the entire expansion. Because it just doesn't make sense to play it. Like, if you want to troll, or, I don't know, go ahead. But otherwise, just don't do it. Next up, Fierce Monkey. This card sucks. It's basically a... Yeah, well, it has taunt. I guess you would probably see it played instead of Sentient Shieldmaster. But who plays Sentient Shieldmaster anyway? Like, that's like a year ago when that was actually viable. In like the cheap control warrior decks. Now we can't do that anymore because like the aggro decks are too aggressive. So I don't think this card is going to see play. It's just an old boring minion. It doesn't seem like it has the value needed. If you usually evaluate taunt for 1 stat point, so 1 attack or health, this card, like, it could be good potentially. Like, it seems like on paper it'd be good, but it just has too little effect in reality, in my opinion, for actually being worth it. So I don't believe in it's going to see play. You probably would draft an arena sometimes because it's, like, it has on paper value, and it seems, well, as an alright, actually think 3-4 for 3 is good. Like, you don't bother about that. Not bad like that. So I could say play an arena, but not in construction. It's not worth the deck slot. Because you're not looking for 3-4 with taunt. That's not what you want in your deck. So no. Last card up is Obsidian Destroyer. This card is pretty sucky, I guess. Like, again, arena, yes please, we want this. Not arena, probably not. Like, Warrior has one ice type, pretty much right now, and that is Control Warrior. They have Patron Warrior, which is actually still a thing. That was just proof in the Championship Series at BlizzCon this year. So, yeah, well, there's these two decks, and I don't feel like this card fits into any of them. Because it is in BGH range, it doesn't really provide that much value. Yeah, sure, some 1/1 taunts is cool enough, but, like, it's not really mattering, to be honest. I don't really see where you would play this card. I just don't see it. I don't see it being played. If it had one less attack, I'd actually say that it would be a lot better. But except for that, I think it might just be a bit better than a Battle-Effect Ogre. Not Battle-Effect, excuse me, War Golem. I think it's War Golem that spawns scraps. And these scraps, I don't think they're going to be doing a lot unless you're already winning. Because it's obviously, it takes up attacks. But versus, well, Druid Root, Mage, Paladin, they probably just kill it and don't care because they have these, like, 1 damage things. I'm like, yeah, it's 1/1. Let's kill that. So I don't think it's going to see a lot of play in arena. Yeah, sure, you're going to draft this a lot of time because it produces value, and it is actually kind of safe because you're not going to be targeting the main attack as this because there's taunts in the way. So in arena, yes, but Warriors in arena suck, and this expansion didn't really change that. Yeah, it helps, but it's still really bad. I would not think this card is going to do a lot of things. But yeah, that was probably it. I think the expansion has been bringing some good cards, and yeah, I think a lot of things are going to happen. The meta is probably going to be tweaked slightly, especially the mid range. I think it's going to be seeing a lot of powering up. I think mid range might just be the new go-to, but aggressive is definitely still going to see some play. That's not dead yet, and control, I think it exists. But I don't know if it's that strong. I think mid range is probably going to be competing with aggro for the first place here. Aggro mainly because it's been so strong until now, and I don't think the expansion destroyed it, even though Reno Jackson does a good job of that. It's just about players finding how the card fits in. But yeah, that was it for this review, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you in my next video.